Okay, testing. 1, 2, 3. We're back. Back on the stream here, everybody. Let's see. Let's make sure that sound's working all right again. We're back. Yeah, it sounds fine. All right. Sorry about that, everybody. If you saw the previous video, I had to end it really quickly because the weather got very thunderstormy over here. It's now the same day. That storm appears to have passed for now, so I'm gonna risk playing a little bit further. I went out and had a burger while I waited for the storm to subside, and now everything's good. I've had a burger. I'm feeling good. I want to play a little bit more of this, because, so I'm not going to do a big old preamble or anything. We're just going to launch right back where we left off. Please look up the previous video and start from there. If, for some reason, you've jumped into this episode without seeing the last one, we're just going to carry on, all right? Good. So, yeah, where we left off, we were interviewing Dalton here, try to get him to work with us to stop the insurrection by Lieutenant Lord and the ensigns. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes. And I'm going to take a quick swig of water right away. Mouth was still feeling a little salty from a burger. It was a good burger, though. I loved it. Yeah, alright. I'm just going to do something over there quickly. Once again, you reach out to grab him, but this time Dalton manages to evade you. His feet firmly plant on the Juno, and he propels himself towards the opposite side of the hangar, disappearing behind some of the remaining storage crates. Damn it, Dalton. Can we try to do this again? You launch yourself from the armored frame towards the far side of the hangar, stopping yourself on the first storage crate you arrive at. You quickly glance over the mess of containers, but aren't able to spot the young engineer. Quickly but quietly, you begin moving from crate to crate, looking out for any sign of the cadet amongst the disorganization. As you pass by an inconspicuous cluster of containers, you hear the rustle of a jumpsuit and the sharp intake of breath. You pause and turn your attention to some crates opposite to where you'd heard the noise come from, giving them a few seconds of fake investigation before launching yourself towards the nook that Dalton had hidden himself in. Oh boy, I hope this is the right answer, because after this I don't know what to do next. Like, try to talk to the chief again? Like, I have not gotten any good leads in any of the areas we visited in. The next thing I'm going to risk is going back to the airlock, going to the central area, and then into the medical area, maybe, is what I'm going to risk. But it's getting really scary now, walking around in the open, God damn, this is getting a little spooky. Bah! Dalton, please calm down. I just want to talk to you, okay? Dalton! Okay. I promise, Cadet, I wouldn't be here if I didn't really need your help. But right now, with Lieutenant Lord in charge of the ship, we're all in a huge amount of danger. It's not just the commander and captain, it's all of us. We don't know what's going on with this, you gesture at the strange craft, thing. We don't even know if it's actually deactivated. We could still be in danger. How are we going to deal with it if half our crew is locked up and the other half is on guard duty? All I need is a little bit of your help. If I can prove Commander Quinn innocent, then that's one major blow to Lord's justification for this mutiny. After that, we can prove the captain innocent too. From there, no one on board will side with Lord. They'll know it'll be them up for execution as traitors. But I can't do this alone. That's why I need you. I know the Chief's taught you a lot already. With your help, I can get this done before we get anywhere near Europa. Oh, well, thank you, but, Dalton. You lay your hand on his shoulder. Please. Well, why do you want me, Lieutenant? I mean, are you sure? I'm just a cadet. I don't really know that much of anything. Are you sure it's my help you want? Like, I just mean that maybe you should think about it, is all. If that's okay? Dalton. Huh, well that's mysterious. Should I try talking to him one more time? Oh, Lieutenant, it's you again. Do you, still need my help? I mean, not that I won't help you if you, need it. It's just that, maybe there's someone else who could help you? Someone who isn't me? I just think, I might not be who you want. I would, though, if you needed it. Maybe there are other options. Dalton, You look at the cadet for a moment, his watery eyes looking up at you, and you notice the slight tremble of his lower lip. I'm gonna take a look at some other options, but hang on, okay? I might still need your help. Right. Okay, Lieutenant. Maybe I shouldn't be putting this kind of pressure on the kid. There are other people I could go to, even if it might be a bit trickier to convince them. Whew, okay. Let's go back in the crawlways. Should we try to go talk to the chief again? Because, yeah, I really did feel bad about Dalton there. Poor guy. I don't really know what else I can do, because, again, I could walk out in the open, go check on maybe the medical bay, but, like, walking around seems so risky. So, I don't know. I'm gonna risk going over here and talking to the chief. You'd have been surprised at how quickly the chief had dismissed you when you'd asked for help. Although you'd assumed she might take a little bit of convincing, you weren't ready for her to completely reject your request like that. As you approach her, you take a few deep breaths, slowing your breathing as you feel your apprehension grow. You knew by how forceful her rejection had been that this wouldn't be easy, but at the same time, you also knew that you needed to at least try and convince her to help you. Without the chief's assistance, carrying out your plan would be much more difficult. Nearing the control panel that she stood at, you let out one final long exhalation and draw yourself up to your full height, your attempt at appearing confident more in order to convince yourself than the chief. Spatial distribution of the neutron flux shows reaction rates within parameters. Now, that should mean energy releases. Chief! Please! I really need you to hear me out. Should mean energy releases. For a moment you consider reaching out to turn her towards you, but you know better than to try to assert yourself physically with the chief. Instead, you bring yourself closer than you're comfortable with and raise your voice. Chief, I know what you said, but please, I need your help. Lieutenant, I told you that I need to keep an eye on these engines. How'd you even get in here? Crewis not take your key card? Gotta give you points for tenacity. I don't think there's any ducts or crawlways leading here since... Chief! That doesn't matter right now! I know you don't want to get mixed up in this, but I need your help. I know what I need to do, but I can't do it alone. I need you, Chief. The chief lets out a loud sigh that clearly communicates her exasperation at your persistence. You clench your teeth and take a deep breath before continuing. If you push your luck too far, you know that at the very least you'll probably get physically thrown out of the room, and the lock will be manually overridden. But at the same time, you're aware of how this isn't something you can simply give up on out of fear of upsetting someone. You're damn right I don't want to get involved, Lieutenant. I've got a ship to get back to Europa, and it doesn't matter who's on the bridge when it gets there, just that it gets there. Now, whatever's happened to these engines during that blackout isn't making that job easy. For the last time, Schutzhund, get out of my way and do what you've gotta do, but leave me out of it. Or do I need to get you out of the way myself? With a single step, the chief is right in front of you, looming over you, her bulk filling your field of vision. You instinctively go to take a step back, but stop just before you do, mustering all your confidence to stand your ground against the Chief's imposing physicality. Squaring your shoulders and widening your stance, you do your best to assert yourself. Chief, I want to get the Gundog back to Europa just as much as you do. But you know it's not about the ship. It's about the people on board. What good is getting us all back to Europa if half the crew is going to be put on trial for something that they didn't do? What's the point in making sure the engines are working if the ship could be ripped apart by some enemy machine, all because our pilots are playing security guard and there's no one to stop it? You don't look after the ship for its own sake. You look after the ship because of the crew, Chief. You know that. For a moment, you feel a flutter of relief within your chest, but you focus, not wanting to get too far ahead of yourself. It looks like the Chief is coming around to you, but you've not convinced her yet. I know that you've got important work to do right here, but if we don't deal with Vanessa now, we can't guarantee that there'll even be a Gundog to get back to Europa. Besides, we all know your work is so good that these engines won't go offline if you leave them for a few hours. You'd have made sure of that. If I had better options, I wouldn't be asking you, Chief, but I need you, please. You're telling me you're doing this for everyone on the ship, Lieutenant? Not just you and Quinn? That's right, Chief. Obviously, Commander Quinn's important to me, but I'm the ship's security officer. It's my job to make sure everyone stays safe. I can't let them down like this. I can't. The Chief inhales through closed teeth and furrows her brow. Everything's stable right now. No sign of unusual output. I could... Why do this now, Lieutenant? If you think Quinn and the captain can be proved innocent, why don't you just wait till we get back to Europa? Bring it up at the tribunal. The Chief raises a good point. Your intent was to prove Cassie, the captain, and yourself innocent. By rights, the tribunal that would investigate this mutiny would be the perfect place for that. But you knew it wouldn't be so simple. I get what you're saying, Chief, but Vanessa would have thought of that already. She wouldn't have done this if she didn't think she'd get away with it. It'll be like that time on the bridge earlier. You know that her story won't line up with what happened, and I bet you that she'll have adjusted the reports to support her case. That's why I need to find this evidence now. Even if I can't convince the rest of the crew to get Bartermuse back in the captain's seat, at least I'll have something I can use at the tribunal. The longer we wait, the more chance that evidence gets adjusted or deleted. Seeing the Chief taking her time to consider your points, you know you're onto something. Even if she doesn't, do you think they'll listen to someone who's been set up as a traitor? If Vanessa's story even seems like it holds water, they'll probably just write me off. But we don't need to let it get that far. I'm sure we can show the rest of the crew that Vanessa's story will fall apart as soon as we get to Europa. Hold on, what? Wrong diction on that. Oh, wow, okay. Scrolling. Let's try again. I'm sure if we can show the rest of the crew that Vanessa's story will fall... Okay, man, that's a hard sentence to understand, but now I get it. Alright, one more time, guys. Wow. I'm sure if we can show the rest of the crew that Vanessa's story will fall apart, as soon as we get to Europa, they'll refuse to serve under her. Oh, I think I still put the comma at the wrong part. It should have been like here. Oh, well, I'm not doing that a fourth time. Even Hansen and Haru won't stand up for her if they know it'll be their necks on the line. With everyone on side, we'll stand a chance if that thing reactivates. Otherwise, we might never make it back. You make some good points, Lieutenant. The elation you feel at that response almost makes you giddy, a feeling you temper with pragmatism. You can't be sure you've convinced the Chief just yet. But are you sure you want to be doing this? What? Of course! I need to... You're locked up now, but no one's gonna blame security for standing up for their captain, especially after everything you've done. You certain you want to be sticking your neck out like this? wouldn't be here if I wasn't, Chief. You might feel that way now, Schutzhund. But step away for a second and give it some thought. Sometimes when you're trying to fix something, the real solution isn't obvious till you take some time to think it over. Might be other options, you know? I want you to make sure you're serious about doing this, Lieutenant. You're serious, you know that. Part of you wants to tell the Chief that here and now. But at the same time, you know that you don't want to risk pushing her too far. You've almost won her over, and if you look like you haven't thought this through, you might undo all that you've done to convince her. You breathe out and let your shoulders drop, letting some of the tension that you'd built up leave your body. Yeah, okay, Chief. I'll make sure this is what I want to do. Thanks for hearing me out. No sweat, Lieutenant. Seems like your heart's in the right place. You just need to make sure your head is, too. Without hesitation, the Chief turns back to the control panel that she'd been working at and resumes whatever it is that she'd been doing before you'd interrupted her. Maybe there were other options, but could any of them be as good as getting the Chief to help you out? You'd have to give that some thought. Man, I'm really feeling the pressure now, because this is there's at least two options here, Dalton or the Chief. Out of these two, I'm definitely picking the Chief, obviously, but if there's a third option, I don't know, guys. And though I've got access, I don't really know what I could do in there right now that would be useful. I'll leave it alone for the time being. Can't go back to the computer. I'm gonna risk one more thing, you guys. Oh, man, I'm really scared by this, though, but I'm gonna risk going to the central hub. You tread lightly, doing your best to keep your steps as silent as possible as you approach the central hub. You stop as soon as you reach the threshold between the airlock and the hub and, holding your breath, listen out for any sign that Hanston and Haru might be nearby. Sure enough, you can hear the two bantering loudly from the direction of the Foresight thoroughfare as they stand watch over the two crew quarters corridors. Okay, but seriously, Lord has got it down bad for you. Yeah, I'm not stupid. Trust me though, someone like her? No thanks. Interesting, I had not picked up on these kinds of signals between these characters. Very interesting. No way. Cruis, easy promotion right there. One and done. If you did, I bet you could get her to say anything you wanted when we get this ship back to Europa. No thanks. She's not even my type. Oh yeah? Who is then? As if... The captain? Shut up, Rumney. Commander Quinn? Shut up, Rumney! The banter stops there and a silence follows. You can tell by their voices that they're both stood in the Foresight thoroughfare, which gives them a clear line of sight straight through the central hub and towards the aft thoroughfare. If you left where you were stood now to head further into the ship, there was a good chance that you'd be spotted. Slowly, you begin to make your way back towards the airlock. Wait, what? Looking back over your shoulder, you see that the panel covering the ladder leading to the bridge has come loose again, dropping from its mounts onto the floor. Hey, what was that? Man, I don't know. Sounded like something in the hub. Stay here, I'll check it out. You swear under your breath as you try to move as silently as possible back towards the airlock, as quickly as you can. As silently as possible, as quickly as you can, that's a bit of an awkward sentence. But anyway, I'm kind of freaking out now. I was like, okay, cool, we don't go there, fine. But now the game's like really throwing this whatever this is situation on. Once there, you pull open the hatch leading into the crawlway and drop down inside, quickly pulling it shut on top of you. At least, you attempt to. As you try to pull the hatch all the way closed, you find it catching on something just before it shuts. Each time you try and force it, the mechanism makes a scraping noise which you realize is loud enough to be heard from the hub. Hey! Someone there? It's instantly apparent to you that the crawlway runs under the route from the central hub to the airlock as you hear Hansen's footfall echoing through the crawlway, growing continuously closer. With one final heave, you yank the hatch with all your strength and manage to pull it shut, swinging the lever into its original position as you do so. What a scare. You sit still in the darkness, holding your breath. Piece of junk ship falling apart. You wait until Hansen's steps have completely faded away, until exhaling in relief. You remain in the darkness for a few minutes, waiting until all sounds of activity from the central hub disappear, and you tentatively re-emerge into the airlock. I should probably stay away from the central hub for the time being. Okay, lesson learned, everybody! Yikes! So, we are not going to be doing stuff in the hub. I was thinking like maybe we could sneak into the medical bay and get something from there, but apparently not. So, man, appreciated the little scare there though. Like for a moment I actually did feel like, oh god, so that's kind of fun. But yeah, I don't know. Is there anything I can do? I don't think there really is anything I can do here, you know. Oh, I could try talking to her. Did I ever do that? Dead to the world. Alive for the journey. Geez. Gonna take a drink here. I really don't know what to do if there is something else to do than you know, like I feel like I've hunted for every hidden pixel. Oh yeah, let's not go there. Yeah, this is a bad spot. Yeah, it sounds like we can't go anywhere because it said that like they can see to the aft thoroughfare, you know, was the warning they gave there. So I am really like, if there is like a hidden thing I'm missing, then I don't know what that is. I think I just have... Oops, nope. That's the wrong way. I think I just have to go to engineering and talk to the chief. I just cannot think of anything else to do right now. So, yeah, I don't know. Like, yeah, I really, seriously, like, I've hunted for those magic pixels quite a bit, you know, like, but this game doesn't have any, like, hugely, like, hidden things as far as I can tell, and I can't work out it. I really hate this feeling, of course, of uncertainty, but, like, I can't use my brain to figure out anything else right now, so I'm gonna just risk talking to the chief and seeing how this goes, like, I just can't... Like, I don't think this game's gonna throw us a game over for, like, picking the wrong character to help us out, you know? That seems unlikely. But, like, I don't know, like, if this game's gonna have, like, a hidden ending or a golden ending, like, this would be, like, a really good moment to hide, like, a prompt for that I'm just not figuring out, but I can't do it, so we're just gonna take the chief route. In the time you'd taken stepping away to think this over, the chief had moved on to a different section of the engine room, and instead of working on a control panel, was now intently staring at a selection of gauges and dials. Reaction is nominal, no issues here. Chief, I've thought it over. Lieutenant! So, what's it gonna be? You certain? Let's do it, guys. Yes, Chief, I am. I know what you said, but I can't risk it. I can't risk Vanessa getting away with this. I can't risk the crew. I'm gonna do it. Well, you got a lot of spunk, Lieutenant. I'll give you that. Everything's running fine here, so I guess it's you and me now. Where to then, Schutzhund? You're buoyant with elation at the Chief's words. With her on your side, there was next to nothing on the ship that could stop you. First of all, we need to show that the captain and commander weren't intentionally absent when the blackout happened. We'll also need to prove Commander Quinn had nothing to do with killing the Doctor. So we'll also probably go to sickbay? Yeah, good idea. Hey, that's what I was thinking. If we went there, we'd be able to... Yeah, that's, right, Chief. But to get there, I'll need to... head through the crawlways? Of course. Can't have you strolling down the thoroughfare when you're supposed to be locked up. Even if... Where she'd been hesitant before, the Chief had clearly already switched her focus on problem-solving from the ship's engines to your predicament. Unfortunately, it looked like that came with her predisposition for getting carried away in analyzing that problem from every perspective. Chief, the crawlways. Huh? Right, the crawlways. Alright, Lieutenant. So, due to the ship's construction, the crawlway system doesn't extend to the engine blocks. It's because of how the Swift class... Enthusiastically lecturing you, the Chief heads towards the entrance that leads back into the engineering room, going into a detailed breakdown of the nature of the disconnect between the ship's hull and its HFDD engines. You let out a sigh of acceptance and follow her. Ugh. You didn't really want to become an expert on the idiosyncratic construction of the Swift class, but it was a small price to pay for saving the entire ship. It's because the fundamental framework is actually from intercluster small-load transports. During the war, they... Okay, it goes on. It doesn't take long for you to both arrive at the spot in the engineering department where the Chief had first hoisted you out from the crawlway you'd arrived in. What that means is that with minimal effort, the Chief pulls up the grating and tosses it to you, almost knocking you back over a guardrail. Swift class could theoretically be the easiest class in the fleet to upgrade if there's any further advancements, as... You hurry to enter the crawlway and replace the grating above you as the Chief disappears into the darkness, continuing to rattle off more about the ship's engines than you could ever hope to remember. With the grate secure, you quickly shuffle towards the ongoing spiel, the deluge of facts your guide in the darkness as you head back into the bowels of the ship. Aw, geez, I hope she's not too loud with this tour here, because I think that might even reach up into the thoroughfare, that banter, but I didn't realize we were both going sneaking. I thought it was gonna be like she causes a distraction or something that we can access the hub and into the sick bay, but this is a new one, alright. Making your way through the crawlways as quickly as you can, you still find it difficult to keep up with the Chief, who moves through the cramped confines of the tunnels with surprising swiftness. Yeah, I get it, she's like very one with the ship, but she's very big, she's quite a bulky lady, so I thought that, you'd think she'd maybe have a little bit of trouble in a cramped spot like this, but sure, why not? There are multiple times where you have to get her attention so that she'll slow down and not leave you stranded in the pitch-dark network of passages. Despite your constant reminders, as soon as you reach her, the Chief will often race ahead, leaving you desperately shuffling to keep up. You were finding it hard to move at speed due to the limited room the crawlways offered, which made the Chief's pace all the more impressive considering her height and build. Yeah, that's what I was saying, right? Yeah. Eventually, you reach a familiar illuminated area. Sweat dripping down your brow, you call out. Chief, stop! What's that, Lieutenant? We've got a few hundred meters of crawlway to get through if you want to reach the sickbay. No time for slacking. You hold your hand up as you do your best to catch your breath. Okay, yes, Chief. I want to reach the sickbay. As your breathing slows and you feel more capable of talking, you lower your palm, allowing you to pivot from your hands and knees to a sitting position. You lean back against the wall behind you, relishing the cool chill of the steel. But we need to go over the plan before we get there. If we just show up in the central hub and the ensigns see us, it'll all be over. You're right that there aren't any crawlways leading directly to the block that the sickbay's built into, so we would need to use the elevators. Damn, I was hoping the answer was she knows like a secret entrance somewhere here to, like, get in there, but apparently, no. Dang it. Like she knows, like, oh yeah, down this one corridor you've already gone. There's actually a panel that you probably missed that just drops you in there. But no, not that lucky. Which means that in terms of access, the Chief's eyes dart back and forth as she begins to go over different variables in her mind, and after a moment, she shifts from the crawling position she'd been in to sitting cross-legged on the floor. Oh man, sort of. By the way, I'm gonna really quickly check that the audio's fine, so I'm gonna double audio here. Different variables in her mind, and after a moment, she shifts from the crawling position. Yeah, that's fine. Sorry guys, I'm feeling a little paranoid lately. I've had a lot of these technical issues, so just wanted to check that nothing weird is going on there, No chipmunk voices all of a sudden. Which would be embarrassing, that how long that's been going on. You let out a deep sigh of relief as her attention is completely taken by the logistics of accessing the sickbay without being seen. As she continues to mutter to herself, you undo the top button on your uniform shirt and flap the fabric near your collar back and forth to cool yourself. Now that you weren't trying to keep pace with the Chief's unnaturally fast movements through the crawlways, you finally had time to think, and you too turn your thoughts towards the next step in your plan. Honestly, couldn't we just have had her walk down the thoroughfare? And, like, distract the two guys, I don't know. But maybe, honestly, maybe, like, they're not letting anybody walk around right now? I don't know. It was going to be difficult to figure out, but now was the time to do it before you headed anywhere else. You spent some time kneading the muscles in your legs and the balls of your hands to work out the tension that had accumulated as you'd crawled through the tunnels. As you work your way from one leg to the other, you listen into the Chief's mutterings as she considers different ways in which you'll be able to access the sickbay. You're relieved that she's putting so much thought into it, but from what you can tell, she's only thinking about how you'll get in, not what you'll do when you get there. After a few more minutes, with no indication that the Chief will give up on this puzzle herself, you interrupt. Hey, Chief. But Lieutenant Schutzhund wouldn't be able to access that area, so that brings us back to... Chief, hey! Lieutenant! I'm trying to figure out how to get us into the sickbay. Give me a moment. Chief, I know we're going to need to get to the sickbay to prove Quinn into Captain Innocent. But right now, we need to figure out what we'll do when we get in there. Right now, any part of the ship that isn't these crawlways or my quarters is risky for me to be in, so I don't want to spend any longer outside of them than I have to. I'd rather we discuss the plan now than leave it until we get there. That makes sense. So, what were you thinking, Lieutenant? What evidence are you after in the sickbay? Well, do you remember how Lord justified her mutiny on the bridge earlier? That rat. She was saying that Quinn and Bartermuse were both out of action on purpose when the ship had that blackout. I don't see how it would benefit two traitors to be stuck on a dead ship, but she must have some way to twist the facts. Exactly. To deal with that accusation, we need to... prove they were actually unwell. Which we probably can do. We know the captain was KO'd as shit, and Quinn was still sick. Show that the two of them were actually sick when the blackout happened. If we can show they weren't faking it, then that would blow a huge hole in Lord's justification. If we can do that, then the rest of the crew will see that they're in danger just by siding with her. Even Hansen and Haru won't risk it. We can convince them, and with no one to back her up, Lord's mutiny will be finished. I see what you're saying, Lieutenant, but how are you gonna do that? Well, I was thinking that... I could vouch for them. I mean, yes, we could, because we've witnessed the captain knocked out from her alcoholism, and also Cassandra knocked out, but we're supposedly a conspirator, right? I guess the records is the right answer. There'd be medical records, right? As soon as the power was back on, I took the commander straight to the sickbay and told the doctor about the captain's condition. He's always making notes on that tablet of his. Even when he was treating me after the crash, he was locking his diagnosis and medication used onto it. He'd have definitely done the same for Captain Bartermuse and Lieutenant Commander Quinn. Hey, good thinking, Lieutenant. If the medical record software is like what I use to log repairs, then it's pretty watertight. Time, date, essential information, it'll all be there. Exactly. Right. So, we're gonna need to get our hands on that. Easy. You shift from your sitting position back to your hands and knees to begin crawling your way through the tunnels to your next destination, but the Chief remains sat where she is. Come on, Chief, we need to get to sickbay. You're forgetting something important, Lieutenant. What do you mean? The doctor's murder. With gritted teeth, you shift back to your sitting position. In the excitement of thinking you had the solution to this whole problem, you've completely forgotten that Lord had directly accused Cassie of the doctor's murder. Even if you could prove she had been unconscious at the time of the blackout, no one on the ship would take the side of a murder suspect. Interesting point, yeah. Do you know where they put the doctor's body, Chief? Huh? I was knocked out when that was being dealt with. Did they leave it in sickbay? Of course. The surgery wing has a storage unit for them. Why? Then nothing's changed. The proof we need that the captain and the commander weren't absent on purpose is going to be in the sickbay, and the doctor's body is too. If we're going to prove that Commander Quinn didn't kill him, that's probably the best place to start, right? Can't argue with that, Lieutenant. Right, sounds like you've got it all figured out. Ready to get moving? Ready when you are, Chief. That's what I like to hear. Just make sure you keep up this time. Yes, Chief. You marvel at the speed and agility that the Chief demonstrates in such a confined space as she springs forward from her sitting position and disappears down a dark crawlway. You, on the other hand, curse how awkward it is as you rearrange yourself back into a crawling position and head after her. Interesting, we didn't get to pick where we go this time. Although she only has a few seconds lead on you, it only takes that long for her to disappear from sight, leaving you scrambling to catch up, following her exclusively by the sound of her boots and jumpsuit scuffling against the tunnel floor. Sounds like she's stopped her lecture this time, alright. Fortunately, you're just about able to keep pace and, panting and covered in a fresh film of sweat, you catch up with her just as she opens a hatch in the tunnel's ceiling. The Chief bolts out of this new exit, but you're a bit more careful, listening out for any other voices before approaching the hole slowly and peeking out in case there's anyone else in the airlock. Ooh, that'd be funny if Chief had to explain why she was crawling around in here, doing the John McClane bit. After confirming the coast is clear, you climb out and shut the hatch behind you. Not bad, Lieutenant. You kept a pretty good pace there. Maybe we'll get you up to maintenance team standards yet. You smile and nod at the Chief. You'd like to respond, but you are breathing too heavily due to the exertion of keeping up with her, and the cool air of the airlock catches in your throat. Instead, you wipe the sweat from your forehead with the cuff of your shirt sleeve and lean against the main airlock hatch, trying to slow your breathing. So, when it comes to the crawlways that you can access, the closest that the network we've been inside will take you to sickbay is here, in the airlock. There's others that could take us right there, but none of the access points are places that you could get to without being seen by some other crew members. So... Again, you simply smile and nod, taking the opportunity to compose yourself as the Chief fills you in on all the different paths that the crawlways run through the ship. Eventually, you're ready to move on, but Chief... That's a spelling mistake. Eventually you're ready to move on, but the Chief is deep in another lecture, growing increasingly absorbed by her own subject matter. Exhaling deeply, you stand fully upright. If you want to get moving, you'll need to snap the Chief out of it. Guess we'll just talk to her again. Hey, Chief. Now that you were ready to move on, you do your best to nudge the Chief out of her latest mental distraction. But the thing about that approach is that it doesn't consider... Chief! Huh? What is it, Lieutenant? I was just considering... Sorry to push you, Chief, but we really need to get going to sickbay now. We've only got a few days until we're back at Europa. The sooner we deal with this, the better. Right. Okay then, Lieutenant. How are we gonna get past the ensigns? The ensigns? You remember nearly being caught by Hansen the last time you were in the airlock, but in the brainstorming session you'd had in the crawlways with the Chief, you'd completely forgot to factor them into your plans. You'd been too concerned with where you needed to be in order to prove Cassie innocent that you hadn't thought how you'd get there. You've got a plan for this, right? Of course. You lie as you run through some ideas in your head. I guess we're gonna need to take them out. I don't fancy the chances when both of them have guns. Distraction is the right mode, I think. We need to figure out some way to get them away from the thoroughfare, ideally for a while. That's good thinking, Lieutenant. It's gotta be easier to get them out of the way than it is for us to try and sneak past them or take them out. But I can't really think of anything we can do from here. Don't worry about that, Lieutenant. I've got just the thing. Okay, for a second I thought that this is where we involve Dalton in the plan. Poor guy, like that would have actually been really scary having to have him, for Dalton I mean, having to have him like do another distraction, you know? Oh no. But let's see what the Chief's planning. You stay here and watch for the right moment. You'll know it when you see it. Okay, but... Without pausing to listen to your concerns, the Chief turns away from you and strides down the hallway towards the central hub. Unlike you, she still has the freedom of the entire ship as long as no one realizes that you're both working together. You watch as she walks nonchalantly into the hub and then turns right towards the aft thoroughfare. If the ensigns notice her, there's no indication that they care as she casually walks away. You take a deep breath and crouch down by the corner of the airlock's exit. You don't want to miss the Chief's signal, whatever it may be. Damn it, this is good for storytelling to keep the suspense, but like, really would have appreciated an explanation of what the signal's gonna be. Before you can even start to wonder what the Chief will do, your question is answered. What is she? From your position, you see the Chief storm back into the central hub and yell at the two ensigns, gesturing towards the engineering department. Ensigns! I need you in engineering right now! You can't make out the response, but the Chief's reply is loud and clear. If you don't get moving, there'll be no one left to guard! Now get down there! It doesn't take much to convince the ensigns. You see them sprint past the Chief and towards the engineering department. Once they're out of sight, the Chief looks to you and shoots you a quick wink before turning to follow them. Get straight to the engines, Crewis! Those cores need to be realigned now! Once the Chief is out of sight, you dart down the corridor towards the central hub. You check both thoroughfares and, not seeing anyone, run over to the elevators. Come on! You repeatedly tap the button, thankful that due to its emergency nature, the sickbay doesn't need you to swipe your keycard to access it, instead relying on simply using a bioscanner to log whoever enters. Well, that's not good. That could come to bite us. Oh, let's go already! Let's go! As the door begins to open, you immediately slip through the gap, hitting the door close button as soon as you're inside. With a sigh of relief, you lean back against the cool metal wall and feel yourself begin to move downwards. You knew that there was no way the Chief would have purposely created a real problem in the engineering department, so whatever she had lined up for the ensigns was probably pointless busy work. Still, it had done the trick, and as long as it kept them occupied, it didn't matter what she'd done. Ooh, I'm a bit scared about coming back up, though, you know. Oh boy, you know. Can she keep them occupied long enough that we can conduct our investigation? I don't know. As the elevator's rate of descent begins to slow, you step forward and shield your eyes before the doors open and expose you to the harsh glare of the sickbay lights. Now that you'd finally got here, you could begin. And that's where I'm going to make a little bio break here. I'm still feeling it, and the weather has not turned worse over here. So, assuming I'm not hit by another surprise thunderstorm, and I'm not counting it out, it's entirely possible. Weather is awkward, you know, in the summer, like, and get hit by freak storms. But, assuming that doesn't happen, we'll be able to do for like a half hour, 45 minutes, something like that still today. So let's take a break here. Stand up, use the bathroom if need be, fill up your drink, and whatever you need. We'll be back in 5 minutes, okay? Sound good? Nice. Yeah, but I'll catch you in just a bit, guys. Okay, see you. And we're back, baby! Alright. So, yeah. Hope you guys all got a chance to stretch and do whatever you need to do to walk a boot a bit and get yourself ready to continue for the backstretch of today's stream. So, we made it into the sick bay. Let's not worry about how we're getting out of here for the moment. Let's just work on getting that evidence, yeah? You emerge slowly and silently into the sick bay, scanning the room as soon as your eyes have adjusted to the light. At first glance, you don't see any sign of the attacker who'd knocked you out the last time you were here, but you're careful to check behind the doctor's desk as well as other blind spots within the room. That would be weird, the attacker just hiding here all this time. Once you're confident there's no one else in here with you, your shoulders drop and you release the tension that you'd been carrying. Without any obvious threat, you take your time going over the room. Everything was as you'd remembered it being. No one had even gone to the effort of cleaning up the shattered glass that covered the floor in front of the medicine cabinets, conveniently meaning that they didn't have to make yet another different sprite layout for this area. You take a small amount of solace in that fact. If you were lucky, it meant that everything else in the room had been left alone too, including any evidence that might absolve Cassie or the captain. Okay, where to begin? The doctor's desk. If there are any documents that will come in useful, they'll be in there. Heading over to the emergency beds, you do a quick visual review that doesn't reveal anything unusual. I guess Cassie's not down here anymore. She's probably locked up in her room then, I guess. Despite this, you take some extra time to go over them, peering into all the little nooks and crannies where the padded top joins the frame. You pay careful attention, looking for any unusual markings or damage, or signs that someone else may have been around them, aside from Cassie and the doctor. Unfortunately, the only thing that you can find that would be considered out of the ordinary is an empty chocolate bar wrapper stuffed under the pillow alongside a few crumbs on the covering. Ooh, wonder how that got there. You didn't need to be an expert tracker to know who had been here. Performing one final investigation, you check under the beds and notice a familiar purple wrapper. You got a silent voice. Oh, this must have dropped down when they took her away. Don't worry, Cassie. I'll get this to you soon. Oh, she never got to eat it? Oh, that's too bad. Yeah, well, we'll try to get it to her at some point. Once this is all blown over, we'll have a nice silent voice and laugh about it. Let's see. Much like on the O'Brien, the glass fronts of the cabinets that stored the various medicines and treatments had all been smashed with fragments covering the floor. You do your best to avoid disturbing anything, but still manage to crunch a few pieces underfoot as you look at the broken edges of the glass that remains in the cabinet doors. No blood, no fabric, nothing caught on these shards. You step back to get a better look and hear something crinkle as you step on it. Turning back to see what it was, you kneel down to pick it up. Nutri-Shake mix. You turn the packet in your hands and notice that it's completely empty. Just like what happened on the O'Brien. Huh, okay, I do vaguely remember this part. This is that's the one that's most making me think that, like, there's an alien or something. Because, like, someone eating this and only this, so carefully, like, picking it completely clean, just makes me think, like, it's something with, like, a, foreign digestion system or, like, diet or something, like, it has to digest this stuff. Otherwise, yeah, I don't know, like, the giant robot could be alien, but it could also just be super high-tech, it's hard to say. Yes, alright, you caught me, I'm cheating a little bit with my hydration. I switched out the water bottle for a bottle of caffeine-free Pepsi Max here for the last stretch. I figured I'll treat myself with some Pepsi Max here as we push the final part of today's stream. Oh well. It's like my chocolate bar. It's like my silent voice chocolate bar. Have some Pepsi Max. So, yeah, but yeah, that's mysterious. This whole Nutrimax thing. I know it wasn't Cassie who killed the doctor, and since it is the same thing that happened on the O'Brien, does that mean it's the same killer? Could it be whoever's piloting that machine? Ooh, that actually makes a lot of sense if they were able to sneak out of the machine. We've not seen any sign that anyone's been able to leave it. And why would they kill 2 doctors just over nutritional shakes? Ugh, doesn't make any sense. No, it doesn't, but I do remember all those signs we've been seeing of maybe somebody sneaking around here. As you walk over to the entrance to the surgery wing, the first thing you notice is that the typically clear glass panel that lets you look inside still has the frosted effect that's reserved for patient modesty or any procedure requiring discretion. With the rest of the crew accounted for and no one available to do any surgeries, you can only assume that it was left in place because the doctor's body had been stored inside. Alright, it's time to start looking around a bit. Do we have the Nutri? We don't have the Nutri-Shake mix. Alright. There's no one here right now. Just thought I'd check the talk for funsies. Alright, let's start in here, I guess. Get back to the desk, get the documents from there. Next to the door leading into the surgery wing is a standard security terminal featuring a screen, number pad, and card reader. You give the glass of the door a light tap with your knuckles, and the dull knock that you hear lets you know that this glass is extra thick, likely reinforced. Without some serious firepower, there's no way you could get in there right now. Oh really? Dang it! I thought we checked the doctor's body while we're in there. That's a problem. And we can't use a card to open it? That's too bad. Maybe the doctor's desk will have a console we can use to open it? I don't know. You pick up a few scattered boxes of medication and place them on the counter. You review each one in turn, finding them still completely sealed and with no obvious relationship between them. This one's for blood pressure. These are sleeping pills. Some of these are antidepressants. Oh, people still have depression in space, in Jupiter. That's too bad. The only factor in common is that it looks like they were all yanked out to get what was behind them, which would be... You peer into the back of the cupboard where all you can see is an empty cardboard tray with the product name printed on it. Nutri-Shake Max, nutritional alternative, 10 times 2 kilograms. If someone wanted shake mix, I'm sure they could have just asked. Although maybe Dr. Rosarium would not have prescribed just by asking. He seemed pretty by the books about his treatment, so... There's no obvious evidence that anyone else has been on them, aside from Cassie. I suppose Hansen must have been resting on one of these beds at some point, but there's no trace he was ever here. Finally, the doctor's desk. It's probably my best bet of finding something useful. Moving around to the side where Dr. Rosarium typically sat, you are relieved to find that the drawers are unlocked. You take a thick pile of files out of the top one and begin flicking through them, looking for anything useful. There's gotta be something here. You think, but there's a huge number of documents within the stack of folders that you've taken, more than you could easily skim through. After a few minutes, you place them down on the table and try the second drawer. This time, a smile crosses your face as you pull out the doctor's data pad. Jackpot! Pulling a sticky note off the screen and placing it back in the drawer you took the device out of, you inspect it, looking for the power button. You find and flick a switch on the back of the datapad, watching the screen slowly illuminate as the device comes to life, the sound of a drive within it beginning to spin, letting you know it's still functional. Alright, I bet this will have all the information I need. Your relation is immediately wiped away as you're faced with a login prompt. Oh, come on! You place the datapad onto the desk alongside the pile of files and sit down on the doctor's chair, placing your head in your hands. You had no expectation that this endeavor would be easy, but you'd been hoping that at the very least it would have been simple. Unfortunately, that did not look like it would be the case. Yeah, I got no clue what the password could be. We did so bad with the Cassie, security code thing where, the game was like, you should have paid attention. And I was like, I did not remember that. So here we now are. I do not remember. We saw Dr. Rosarium so little that I really don't remember at all, if he had given any hint at what could be a password. After taking a few moments to silently fume at the challenges that were being thrown your way, you realize there's nothing you can do but move forward. Okay. This can't be it. There's gotta be something I can do. With a long exhalation, you stand up, looking around the sickbay. You'd come this far, you weren't going to give up yet. Running your hands back through your hair, you pace from one side of the room to the other. As far as you could tell, there was no obvious proof that Cassie had been the doctor's murderer, but you couldn't find any proof to the contrary either. At this rate, you wouldn't be able to find anything, and there was every chance that once you'd left sickbay, the ensigns would have returned to their positions outside of the crew quarters. Had you risked it all for nothing? Before you can dwell on that thought, you hear the elevator whir into life, letting you know that within the next few seconds, someone would be entering the room. With no time to spare, you decide to... I'm gonna hide. Yeah, I don't like the combat plan, You look around the room in desperation for somewhere to conceal yourself so that you can either stay unnoticed by whoever enters or get the drop on them if necessary. With the surgery wing locked and the emergency beds nothing more than suspended platforms, you're left with one option, behind the desk. Just as the door slides open, you dive behind the desk, trying to tuck yourself into what little space there is underneath it. Remaining as quiet as you can, you listen to the sound of footsteps crossing the room towards your position. Oh boy, please be the chief, please be the chief, please be the chief. The footsteps coming from the elevator towards the desk fall heavily on the floor, each one causing a resounding thud. Whoever's entered the room stops right by you, and you hear a slight creak from the desk, as if a great weight has been placed on it. Oh, I hope that's just the chief. Get out of there, Lieutenant. It's just me. Whew, I was so scared. The chief appears in front of you, squatting down with one hand still resting on top of the desk. She reaches out to you, and you take her hand, which yanks you out into your feet. No need to worry about Cruis or Rumney. I've got them realigning cores on a deactivated secondary drive coil. With the false readings I fed into it, they'll be there all day. Told them I'd be working on the main coil in the other engine room, so they shouldn't figure I'm gone for a while. Unless they realize the readouts they're getting are on a loop, but with the 14 variations I plugged in... how's it going in there? You find what you needed yet? Not yet, no. You gesture over to the doctor's desk. I've found Dr. Rosarium's datapad, but I can't log in. The surgery wing's locked up, and there's no obvious evidence that points to anyone else being here, aside from Commander Quinn. Sounds like you've been having a tough time, huh? Yeah. You run your hands back through your hair and lean back against the cool glass that separates you from the surgery wing. Ugh. I hoped I could find something obvious, but there's nothing useful here. We can't get to the doctor's body or into his notes. Hey, don't worry about it, Lieutenant. You got me here. You think this ship does anything but what I tell her? No chance. I'll get it sorted. Where are we gonna start? Well... I think the chief is better suited to getting this door open, so let's start with that, I guess? You stand in front of the closed doorway to the surgery wing and tap on the frosted glass. You knew the glass used is the same kind as what's used in the window on the bridge, and would be pretty much impenetrable to conventional weapons, let alone what you had at your disposal. Took a drink here, sorry. You'd not been able to find the doctor's key card, and without it, you wouldn't have much of a chance of getting in. Except this item button just flicked up. With a smug sense of satisfaction, you swipe the card through the terminal next to the door and wait for it to open. Is it gonna work? Instead, you're met with a harsh series of digital tones. Access denied. Insufficient authority. Damn, it's only Rosarium who's allowed in there. Figures. Your eyes linger on the terminal for a few more seconds as you think about everything you'd gone through in the past few days involving bypassing these devices, or the doors attached to them entirely. You didn't bring the PST, did you, Chief? Nope, but it wouldn't be much good to us. If you haven't found Rosarium's card, then we can't get that door open with anyone else's. Only he had the authority. You squeeze your eyes shut and pinch the bridge of your nose. I guess if they've left him in there, they must have taken his card on the way out. One of the ensigns probably has it. Or Vanessa. You sigh. No chance of us getting it, then? I didn't say that, Lieutenant. Your eyebrows raise and you turn back towards the mechanic. But how can we get in without? I told you, Lieutenant. This ship does what I say. Nothing on board can get in my way. What? You think I don't know how to get around every single system or device here? No, Chief, nothing like that. I just thought... Damn straight. Now take a look at this. The Chief moves you to one side and lays a gloved hand on either side of the terminal's casing. Okay. This is interesting. I thought we might perhaps be having to use the screwdriver next. Like, the card was the wrong item, but this is the right one, but... Alrighty then. We'll just let the Chief work her magic. A swift yank is followed by the loud sound of snapping plastic, and the Chief pulls away the top of the device, including its screen, which is still connected to the inner workings by a long ribbon cable. Get over here, Lieutenant. We don't have all day. Oh, so that's, It's a combination digital physical security unit. JUCF used to manufacture loads of these back in the day. This looks like a pipe dream game. Oh boy, is there gonna be a timer on this one? Overproduced them though, so when someone came up with a better system, there were huge amounts left over. Didn't make sense to waste them, so the JUCF's been using them in low security facilities, or on ships where they're not expecting any problems. Oh, I see. So, can you do something to get the door open? That's gonna be your job, Lieutenant. See, this thing works by redirecting power to the door whenever it scans the right clearance on a keycard. You can get the same thing to happen by rotating the nodes, though. Diverts the power to where you need it to be. Easy. Chief, shouldn't you... I wish I could, Schutzhund. The Chief takes off one of her thick gloves and holds her hand up to you. Aside from the calluses and worn leathery skin of her palm, you also notice that the whole hand is shaking. The tremors are small but constant. Interesting. A little moment of vulnerability from the Chief? Oh. Damaged the nerves doing too much work with heavy machinery as a girl. I'm fine with military or industrial grade machinery because it's usually pretty chunky. But stuff like this, I don't have the dexterity for it. So, what are you waiting for, Lieutenant? Get on it. Right, of course. Okay, we're doing a little bit of Pipe Dream. Looks like it's not on a timer like Pipe Dream, but sure, I'm fine with a little mini game like this. There we go. This is pretty straightforward because, like, yeah, we only got this one option here. Alright. But now we get a little fork here. Yeah, it's a big nope. So, let's send it this way instead. With a little squiggle like that. No, that's not gonna work either. Ah, okay, hold on. We could go this way instead. Got it. Okay, this isn't that bad, this mission, huh? But I really do gotta pay attention. I almost crashed out there. Right, so we align this one like this. There, now we got a stable loop going this way. Okay, this one, yeah. Okay. The Master of Unlocking was the achievement I got. That's cute. You hear a click as the locking mechanism disengages and the door slides open. Ha! Yes! There you go, Lieutenant. Easy, right? Yeah, easy. Something like that. As you step back from the terminal, a waft of cold air from the now open doorway hits you, and a chill runs up your spine. You pensively eye the entryway, taking a few steps to your right to get a better look inside. As you'd expected, you can see the doctor's body, lying on an operating table. You shiver again, although this time not from the cold air that was leaching into the climate-controlled warmth of the main sickbay. Everything all right, Lieutenant? The chief appears beside you, her hand on your shoulder. Yeah, it's fine. I was just thinking about what we have to do next. I got you, Lieutenant. Never nice seeing one of the crew like this. Yeah. The temperature just outside the door is almost as cold as the room beyond, and as the chill continues to spread, you rub your arms instinctively to warm them. You knew that you'd always planned to get in there to examine his body, but now that it was possible... But we've gotta do what we've gotta do. It is what it is. It is what it is. You repeat. I know what I've got to do, but... Come on, Lieutenant. Let's get to it. You hesitate for a moment before nodding, which the chief takes as a sign to enter. As she walks into the room, the chief becomes a vague silhouette, barely visible behind the frosted glass. With her out of view, you clench your fists a few times, then follow her into the room. You'd never been in here before, although you'd taken a few opportunities to peek inside when the glass wasn't frosted on the few times you'd visited the sickbay. They weren't particularly reassuring to look at from the other side of the glass, but your proximity to the automated surgical assistants made them much more intimidating. A series of long, thin mechanical appendages were suspended from a collection of disc-like objects which themselves were attached to the room's ceiling by various supports, cables, and tubing. The room's temperature was so low you could see your own breath, which turned to condensation on certain parts of the machines, glinting with caught light as you moved around them. Directly underneath all of this was the body of Dr. Cypher Rosarium. Doesn't look too bad. You'd almost mistake him for being alive still. You shudder as you approach the corpse. Although you'd encountered the bodies of the crew on the O'Brien, those weren't people that you'd interacted with, spoken with, people you'd known. Laying here on the table, the lack of vital essence in the doctor was tangible. As sedate as he'd been when he was alive, seeing him like this made your stomach turn. If the chief was feeling the same way, she wasn't showing it. Alright then, Lieutenant. What are you looking for? Well, I guess I should... Can we do all of these? I don't know. Check for injuries, prosthetics, look for clues to this killer's identity. All of these are pretty good. I'm gonna just start from the top on this one. I don't really know. If we can figure out how he died, then that might give us an indication of who the killer was. Or at the least, it can show us that Cassie couldn't have done it. Sure, you're the security officer. I guess that makes you something like a detective, huh? The edges of your mouth involuntarily curl upward slightly as the chief's question reminds you of how Cassie had reacted to your position when you'd first met. She'd been so excited about her misconception that you were on ships to solve crimes that you didn't have the heart to tell her otherwise until her 4th electronic mail asking you if you'd had any murder cases yet. Aw, that's kinda cute. Taking a drink there. Still, neither the chief nor Cassie were entirely incorrect. The head security officer was responsible for gathering information and evidence prior to a case being handed over to internal investigations or the military police if something happened whilst out in space. Kind of, I guess. You had been given training in assessing a body, but only for particularly surface-level things. Hopefully, that'd be enough. Okay, let's see. Starting from his feet and working upwards, you gingerly assess for any signs of broken bones, swelling, dislocation, or wounds, finding nothing. As you move up his body, you still don't find anything except that his cybernetics extended further than you were aware of, with a good portion of his left leg and chest proving to be mechanical. Interesting. With your assessment continuing to be fruitless, you eventually move on to the doctor's head. Sweeping back his hair to check for bumps or bruises, you notice something strange around his eyepiece. His eyepiece? Chief, look at this. What is it? It's subtle, but look. You gesture to the edges of the doctor's prosthetic, where the device meets the doctor's skin. Signs of singeing and minor burns run along the edges, with the lens of the eye surrounded by a ring of black. Strange. Looks like the device has overloaded. But the power cells used in his prosthetic shouldn't produce enough current to shock him, even if the situation were... So you think the doctor may have been shocked then? Huh? It looks that way, but it shouldn't be possible. An electric shock. You briefly dwell on the possibilities. Just like on the O'Brien. What do you think could have caused this? Nothing in the other room. There's no obvious damage to anything that would expose any electronics with the power to do this. Can't see anything in here that could have delivered this level of shock. Defib paddles are still on their mounts. No damage to the automated assistants. Had to have been something someone brought in. Like an electroshock weapon. Whoa, Chief! You don't think I did this, do you? I don't know, Lieutenant. Did you? No! I came in, found the doctor dead, and got attacked just before I could check on Cassie. Why would I kill the doctor? The Chief's hard glare drops the temperature of the room by a few more degrees as she watches you from the other side of the operating table that the doctor has been laid down on. You'd have to be pretty stupid to murder someone, then break out and drag another member of the crew to show them evidence which showed you did it, huh? You breathe a sigh of relief, which turns to a small cloud of vapor in front of you. Yeah, you would. Unless it's a double fake-out! Why am I doing this? Why am I trying to implicate myself? Oh my god. I guess we have our answer there. Even if it raises more questions. Now that we've figured this out, take a look at his prosthetics. Well, it might be worth it since apparently something's happened there. Do you think there's anything we can learn from his prosthetics? Would they keep any information about his condition or anything like that? Rosarium's augments are pretty old, but... The Chief reaches into one of the pockets of her overalls and pulls out a small screwdriver, much smaller than the one Dylan had snuck into your meal. Methodically, she begins to assess the doctor's right arm, following the edges of various panels. Eventually, she raises the arm, which yields easily, finding a series of screws on the underside of his mechanical forearm. Each screw is quickly removed and placed neatly into a nearby surgical basin, followed by a panel that Chief lifts away. Although the Chief is simply disassembling a piece of machinery, you can't help but feel a bit queasy as you watch her work, given the situation you're in. With the air of a surgeon about her, she continues to methodically disassemble the interior of the doctor's arm until she places the screwdriver down and pulls out a small circuit board, which remains connected by a series of wires. This... She holds the board up and turns it to face you, showing that it has a small screen and a series of buttons on the other side. Should give us a log of the doctor's vitals, but looks like the whole unit's been deactivated. Hold it for a second. As it's passed to... Ooh, another spelling mistake there. As it's passed over to you... As it's passed over, you can't help but notice the trail of wires and cables heading back into the forearm towards the doctor's elbow joint and wrist, like a series of veins and arteries. You swallow nervously, looking away as the chief continues to dissect the interior of the mechanical arm. Unnerved by the procedure being carried out next to you, but still having to hold on to this component, you close your eyes and steady your breathing. There. There's a click as she lays a burned-out battery in the surgical basin, and you see that a series of wires coming from the doctor's arm are now connected to a fresh-looking battery that sits just to his side. Huh, the battery got overloaded as well by the shock, maybe? Make another drink here. Sorry. So, Lieutenant, what does it say? You look at the screen on the device. All you see are 4 flashing numbers separated by a colon. 21-29. What is it? A diagnostic code? No, it's the time. But it's not. You go to look at your wristwatch. The time the power on his prosthetic failed, Lieutenant. Ah, right, okay. 21-29. If that's when the power on his prosthetics failed, do you think that's when he died? Yeah, probably. These things run on power cells, but it looks like whatever got him took them out too. I came to visit Commander Quinn just after 21:30. So whoever killed the doctor must have got to him just before I arrived. Now we know when he died, maybe we can cross-reference it against the ship's logs. See who was where and when, something like that. Not a bad idea, Lieutenant. Thanks, Chief. Alright, let's... Hold on. The Chief takes the small circuit board off you and returns it to the interior of the doctor's arm, carefully replacing the wiring before reattaching the panel with the screws she'd removed earlier. Didn't want to leave him in pieces, you know? Doesn't seem right. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, of course. Okay, let's... Alright, I'm glad. We got to do all of these. Good. Kind of felt it like this wasn't like a big choice moment thing, so I'm glad that it turned out like this. Otherwise, I would have been a little bit worried if we only got that one clue at the start. There's nothing useful out in the main sickbay. I couldn't find any trace of anyone else being here but Commander Quinn. If we're lucky, there might be some evidence on the doctor that we can use. Although your training in handling what could be considered a crime scene or evidence was brief, you hope that the small amount you've been taught might come in useful. You don't notice any obvious signs of bruising on the doctor to indicate he'd been grabbed, and there's no signs of any use of a weapon either. After looking at the fingernails on his left arm and not seeing any signs of skin or blood, you're about to give up when you check his mechanical hand. Chief, look at this. What is it? You raise the doctor's mechanical arm, twisting it slightly so that she can see the back of his hand. As soon as she notices what you're pointing out, she takes the arm off you. Knuckle joints and tops of fingers, both crumpled. What? Like some kind of immense force crushed his hand? Augment's military grade. He must have hit something hard for this to happen. What have you found, Chief? Take a look. Gently, the Chief extracts something from the joint between the index finger and the knuckle, then passes it to you. You carefully take the small fragment off her and hold it between your thumb and forefinger, bringing it up to your eye. It looks like a small metal chip. Maybe a piece of whatever he hit? You pass it back. Maybe, but there's nothing on the ship made using something like this. The Chief pauses, her brow furrowing deeper into its scowl. Except that thing in the hangar. What? You think this is something to do with that? The Chief walks over to the nearby hand-washing station and takes a few sheets from a roll of disposable towels, wrapping the small fragment up before placing it into her pocket. Can't say for sure, but looks like it. So the theory might be correct? Some guy snuck off the ship, killed the doctor, and stole the food? Again, my theory that it's an alien that needs the Nutrimix. Oh boy, so there's an alien camping inside the crashed enemy ship, chowing on Nutri-Shake? Oh boy. Why the doctor, though? No idea. You pause as you consider this new piece of information. It had given you a fresh perspective to consider, but if anything, it had just created more questions. Well, that's all I can see that looks useful. Now we've found that we should leave the doctor in peace. He's not got anything left to tell us. Yeah, I'm with you there. You follow the Chief out of the room, stopping by the terminal to reset the components and replace the screen. As you click the screen back onto its mounting, the door hisses shut, stemming the flow of cold air from the surgery wing into the sick bay. Just before it closes, you catch one final glimpse of the doctor. All you can think about as he disappears from your view is that if you had got here a few minutes earlier, maybe you could have done something. Yeah, it's rough, honestly, when you think about it. Yeah, we were there just after he died, poor guy. Wow. Alright, next step. I'm thinking we'd close soon today's stream, but let's take a look if we can get that datapad figured out. You look at the desk which you had retrieved the doctor's datapad from and pinch the bridge of your nose. It was driving you nuts that such a potentially vital piece of evidence was locked behind a password. Something got you down, Lieutenant? Just thinking about the doctor's datapad. It could have everything we need on it, but without his password, there's nothing we can do. You sure you've looked everywhere? Rosarium was good with medical equipment, but no good with computers. Bet you he's written his password down somewhere. Maybe there is something I missed. A vague memory returns to you, and you head over to the desk, opening the top drawer. Aside from a collection of plugs and cables you'd already emptied it of everything that had seemed important. There's that weird missing comma situation throwing me off again. You slide it closed and move on to the one below it, opening it to find that without the datapad inside, all it contained was the sticky note that you'd previously peeled off the screen. Oh! Could this be like Lesson 101 in bad password security? Could we be that lucky in this case? Could it be that easy? You temper your expectations as you read what's been written. Device asks me to press any key to continue. Ask Cathay's location of any key, not visible on keyboard. The doctor cannot be serious. What did you find? That's really funny. That's actually really funny, the any key. I mean, it's a pretty simple gag, but sure, alright. Exasperated, you pass her the note, and as her eyes scan the writing on it, a broad smile fills her face. I remember when he asked me about this. Laughed so much I scared the hell out of the cadet. Had to explain to the guy that the computer's instructions weren't as literal as he was treating them. Guess he just saw an instruction and followed it. There's nothing useful in the desk, and I don't think those files will be much help. I thought that note might be the doctor's password, but I was wrong. I can't believe someone would be so literal about computer instructions like that. How has he managed all these years? Okay, well... Geez, this one's messing me up. Can we look at the thing? Oh, nice. We can do it. The doctor's data pad. I wish he'd written his password down or left us a clue or something. No use wishing, Lieutenant. Keep your head in the here and now. If this problem's gonna get solved, it's gonna be by us. Yeah, you're right. Glad for once you could access an item from the menu, which the game has not done thus far. It's a bit annoying. But, you know, obviously there's not much to do in this sitch, so I'm glad that, like, you were... It's not a big leap to try that, so, yeah. You don't know anything about the doctor that helped you guess his password? Well, I guess he's extremely matter-of-fact, to the point. Literal. I wonder... Alright, let's give this a try. I got an idea, you guys. Yeah, they're really... This one they're hammering in, and this one is not as distant in time as the whole Cassie's date of our anniversary thing. They've just, like, telegraphed this bit about the doctor being very literal. I'm gonna try this one. Enter password. You think that's just like, you know, he's looking for the any key. He's just like, you know. Alright. Cyborg Security was the name of the achievement we got for that. Fair enough. Dr. Rosarium, you cannot be serious. So what was it, Lieutenant? Password. As in, enter password. A huge smile erupts on the chief's face, and she laughs loudly, giving you such a hearty series of pats on the back that you almost launch the datapad across the room. Good old Rosarium. Wiping a tear from the corner of her eye, the chief maintains her grin. We could always count on that guy to get straight to the point. Good work figuring it out, Lieutenant. See if you can find something useful on that device. Will do. Oh boy. Ooh, there's a button that's not there on our regular thing, you know? It's got medic there, so... Map is out of order. Access to map function disabled. Please contact your system administrator. Alright. Tasks. Let's see. Assigned to Dr. Cypher Rosarium, patient Cassandra Quinn, run neuroimaging set 3. Ooh, we got the time. Supply painkillers and sedatives at 21:22. Sedatives right before that, sounds good. This might work. Chief, I've got something about Commander Quinn. Yeah? Anything good? Maybe. Says here that he gave her sedatives at 21:22. Now we got that date. Right, okay, cool. It was around 21:30 when I came down and found the doctor dead before getting attacked. That's nearly 10 minutes before Rosarium's augments were knocked offline, too. There's no way that she could have attacked him if she'd just been sedated, let alone kill him. She wouldn't have been in a state to do much of anything. What about the captain? Anything there that helps her out? Nothing yet, but I'll keep looking. Hansen Cruists. Immobilize forearm to prevent furthering of ulna fractures. Commence automated ossification procedure. Oh, I skipped over it. It's nothing particularly interesting here. Neuroimaging sets, painkillers. Yeah. Review completion of ossification procedure and assess wound closure and sutures. Well, I'm glad... In some way, I'm glad Hansen's okay. Like, I'm glad that they got the procedure done before he died, you know? Because it really... In case we do end up, like, getting him on our side, it would really suck to have him unavailable with his arm, you know? So, Right now it's bad for us that he's in working condition because he's able to threaten us with that gun, but yeah. Hey, us, patient Solschutzhund, localized anti-inflammatory painkillers, 1840, got it. I guess after the big beating we took on the escape from the O'Brien, yeah. Here we go, Maris Bartermuse. Provide treatment for Visalgia. Rehydrate with high glucose electrolyte mix accompanied by painkillers, completed 1452. Provide recommendations on counseling for alcohol misuse and potential addiction. Now, this isn't helping us. There's no times here that she's knocked out, but got confirmation about alcohol misuse and addiction and Visalgia and everything. Oh, maybe we need to look that up. Let's see. Ooh, I'm not going to read all this right now, guys, because we're kind of wrapping up, but let's just take a look quick. This is just basic trivia, the same stuff I guess we find in our own pad, you know? Oh, here's that. This explains how you get gravity on this ship. Interesting. Very neat. The HFDD. Let's see if Visalgia shows up here. That'd be handy. It means that you are mega out of order for a long time, you know? It seems unlikely, but... Nuclear pulse engines. It's for when you're not using the HFDD. Nutri shakes. Yum, yum, yum. Planetary calendar. Yep. Solar Federation. That's our hated enemies. I don't know. Maybe, you know, it's been a long time since the war. Maybe relations have improved. I don't know. Synthetic reproduction rations, terminal. Nothing about Visalgia. Well, maybe in the medic part, you know. Maybe it needs a specific glossary. This looks like it contains the medical records of everyone on board the Gundog. If I go any further, I'll be looking at some really sensitive material. But there could be something in here that helps me. I'll need to make sure I only look at what I need to. Well, that's gonna be Bartermuse and Quinn and... we don't have a medical record here. That's very sad. But let's start with Bartermuse, because we're trying to find something on the captain, you know. Ooh, cool portrait. Here we go, Chief. Oh, let's read this up real quickly. So, Maris Bartermuse, IO Colony 112, blood type 0+. Is that universal donor, I think? I don't remember how it works. Medical notes. Recent update. Attended quarters following notification by crew member, blah 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 blah. Patient was discovered unresponsive due to alcohol-induced Visalgia. Level of consumption indicates undiagnosed alcoholism. Yeah, this has to be right after the blackout when this is Saul who reported in. Diagnosed with dysthymia 09212. Dysthymia, I think that's like that's like low functioning depression, I think. I don't think low functioning is the correct term. Let me quickly look that up, just out of curiosity. Because I remember hearing that term at some point. Dysthymia, yeah, it's not like paralyzing depression, you're not bedridden, at least not chronically bedridden or incapable. Yeah, apparently the Finnish term pitkäaikainen masentuneisuus, which is long period depression. Yes. Dysthymia, persistent depressive disorder. Yeah. Similar to those of major depressive disorder, but which persist for at least 2 years in adults and 1 year among pediatric populations. This is the Wikipedia page I'm looking up. Yeah, it basically means, yeah, you experience symptoms for years. Yeah. They might perceive their dysphoria as a character or personality trait rather than a distinct medical condition and never discuss their symptoms with healthcare providers. Yeah, this disease is really hard to track because it's like lingering and subtle, so like you might not realize. You might just be like, well, you know, I'm just like a kind of a sad sack person, you know. Yeah, 2 here, history of depressed mood, as well as at least 2 of the following symptoms: poor appetite or overeating, hypersomnia or insomnia, fatigue or low energy, low self-esteem, poor concentration or difficulty making decisions, and hopelessness. Irritability rather than sadness may predominate in the pediatric setting. Yeah, it's like you basically, like, you're able to function, but you just kind of feel shit. It's the short way to put that. Yeah, interesting that comes up. That's very unfortunate for the captain. Yeah. Mixing with alcoholism, not good, you know, very bad. Anyway, let's carry on. Here we go, Chief. Yeah? Just found records for the captain. Says he found her unresponsive due to, because of what? Something called Visalgia. But it says she was unresponsive, so that should prove she wasn't absent on purpose. Oh, works for us. So, we've got the Lieutenant Commander being dosed up with sedatives, and Bartholomews having, what did the doctor call it? Visalgia? When the power was off. Should I quickly Google Visalgia as well, since I now did dysthymia? I've never heard of that term, so I'm curious what that one is. Oh, okay. Hangover. It's a fancy medical term for a hangover. Very good. Oh, interesting. It's a Norwegian word, apparently, like, in origin, so it might be like Veisalgia is how you're supposed to pronounce it. Or, you know, the Veis part is kveis, discomfort following overindulgence, Norwegian. And algia is like algos, pain, from Greek. What a weird word. Okay. But probably in English it, like, corrupts to Visalgia, so, yeah, I'm gonna go with that pronunciation for now. Looks like we've got enough to prove that Lord's full of crap. Definitely. This will be really useful. Oh, now we can check it still. Has refused antidepressant medications and counseling. Discretion to forego mandatory counseling provided by Admiral Bartholomews. Oh, wait a second, Admiral? She's only Captain Bartholomews, right? Fascinating. There's another Bartholomews, huh? Alright. Chronic hypertension. Hypertension? That one? High blood pressure, I think. I think tension in medical terms refers to blood pressure. So, that high blood pressure would match the profile of alcoholism. Interesting. I should not be looking at the rest of these, but I think we gotta check on Cassie just in case. And otherwise I'm not gonna pry. Sorry everybody, but that's just not how I roll. But I think we gotta double check Cassie, you know? These profiles are fun. O minus, okay. Is that also universal something? I don't know how these work. Recent update. Patient delivered to sickbay unconscious at such and such time. Recent update. Sudden onset migraines and loss of consciousness as of herpeta. Current scans remain inconclusive, indications of neurological condition. Will require escalation to the Colony Medical Center if scan set 3 provides no avenue for effective treatment. Diagnosed with gastric distress linked to synthetic ingredients in onboard food stores. Ongoing treatment. Standard meals to be substituted for NutriShake powders. 50 grams serving 3 times daily. That's right, she had some stomach issues as well, but yeah, it's alright. There we go, Lieutenant. Thinks that's it. I feel like this is still some shaky evidence, but I guess put all together, we can at least like Phoenix write it a little bit against Vanessa with all this evidence, I think. Datapad shows that Quinn and Bartholomews were both out of action when the blackout happened. Then, we've got information on that pad, as well as what we've found out from the doctor himself, that shows there's no way she could be the killer. Should be pretty good for convincing everyone, right? Yeah. What's up? Figured you'd be excited about the solid alibis we've got for the captain and commander. I was just thinking. We can show that it wasn't the captain and it wasn't Commander Quinn, but... But we've still got no idea who it was, right? Someone on this ship is responsible for the Doctor's murder, and if we don't find out, they'll still be out there. Even if we get Captain Bartermuse back on the bridge, we're all targets, right? We need to figure out who it was. That's a good point, Lieutenant. But how are you gonna do it? Well, the datapad got me thinking. The Doctor had his logs, right? Not that different from the whole ship. Almost everything is logged. So if we look at the records, we should be able to figure out who it actually was by tracking the crew's movements. But with Lord on the bridge, she'd have the ensigns on us before we got anywhere near the reports. Wouldn't surprise me if she's got a panic button all set up or something. Hey, no problem there. Huh? We don't need to go through the bridge. Everything on this ship goes through the central computer. We can get over to engineering and take a look at the records there. Easy. Won't the ensigns notice? Don't worry about it. I've got them kept busy in one of the engine rooms. I'll take a look to make sure the coast's clear, too. Thanks, Chief. No problem. Let's get moving. Alrighty. Following the Chief's lead, you enter the elevator and the doors close behind you as soon as you enter. After a short journey in silence, they slide open again, revealing the central hub. With guns pointed at us. No. Just follow me, Schutzhund. If I see anyone around, I'll make sure to give you a heads up. You only manage a nod in response before the Chief confidently strides out of the elevator and towards the aft thoroughfare, leaving you to follow her out. Although she makes her way towards the corridor with utmost confidence, you're more furtive, constantly looking over your shoulder and down the other corridors you pass. Alrighty. I'm gonna call it here, actually, I think. Or maybe wait until we're in the engine room? Because I think this is a good moment to call it and just, finish the next part of our investigation next time, check the computer, maybe even get to, stopping Lord, But I guess I'll call it here, because I don't know how much longer this will still go, or what kind of crazy, cliffhanger plot twist they're gonna throw at us. So, yeah, I'll call it here. It's been good. I enjoyed this. Once again, nice slow pace. I like the sneakiness and everything. I really like teaming up with the Chief. Feels very assuring to have a reasonable set of heads and big beefy arms on our side like this. So yeah, this is getting interesting. I'm glad we worked out good evidence. Hopefully we can solve this killer as well. I'm so now is there an alien on the ship just eating Nutri-Shake mixes? I guess it could just be a human person. They're meant for human consumption, so if it's just a person who can't raid the ration machine in the break room, then they gotta live with the Nutri-Shake. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, we're gonna have to figure it out next time, methinks. So that's gonna be all for today. Again, sorry about the little jump in videos here, because I had to. The weather forced me to cut off for a bit and pull all the plugs on my electronics. Weather's been quite nice now since that passed, so I'm happy to say. No scares after that. If you were tuning in live, or if you popped in later to watch this, I really do appreciate that. Again, I do not know how long this game's going. It seems like the intrigue is still, massive in this game, so no clue how much we still have left to do. But we'll see. I will try to pop in and continue our adventures aboard the Gundog. But that's going to be all for today. So thank you for watching, everybody. Oh, just save the game here real quick. Thank you for watching, everybody, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye!